Imagine being able to rewatch your favorite TV show with your best friend, who has literally never seen an episode before. That's our premise, and what we hope will set us apart from the other Office podcasts you may have stumbled across. So welcome to Bears Beats Bobbleheads, Talkin' Office, the podcast where three brave souls discuss every episode of The Office, from pilot to finale, and we get a fresh reaction from someone who has just watched the episode for the very first time in their life only hours before. Enjoy the show. Hello and welcome to Bears Beats Bobbleheads Talking Office, and we are all the way up to Season 2, Episode 5, Halloween, which first aired October 18th, 2005, written by series creator Greg Daniels, directed by Paul Feig. So let us start the episode as we always do. Let us give our favorite moments from an episode that I personally feel had more than one highlight for sure. Joe, what was your favorite moment of Halloween?
Oh God, I love this episode. The Halloween episodes are usually, they're up there with my favorite ones. My favorite is when Michael pretty much sums up what's going on in the episode is during his talking head, and they ask him if he's ever been hunting, and he talks about the time he shot a deer in the leg and then killed it with a shovel, and it took about an hour.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite moments, but easily for me, my favorite moment is when Dwight and Michael are in the office, and Dwight, as the Sith Lord, is having a conversation with Michael's paper mache twin, and Michael's convinced him that the paper mache twin is trying to convince him to fire Dwight, and Dwight totally seriously says to him, "Quiet, you."
That's awesome.
Yeah,
okay. It's filmed too. It looks like something right out of Star Wars, like just with the cloak over his face. Yeah, it's great.
It's brilliant. All right, Paul, we should remind listeners, you watched this episode for the first time today. Never
Correct.
Seen it before in your life. So very curious, what was your favorite moment from Halloween?
The whole conversation between Michael and Creed.
Really?
Yes, that was my favorite moment.
Nice. All right, well, we're gonna be talking about that in detail, but you want to just kind of like overall, what was it about it that?
It was just how like Creed was like I don't want. I mean, I'll say it because we're watching this particular episode. Or Creed's just not going to allow himself to get fired. He's like, no.
Paul, are you talking about my number 2 favorite character of The Office, Creed?
I'm telling you what, your number 2 favorite character, Creed. This is my first introduction to Creed, and my God, it was great.
All right, we start with Michael remembering that he has to fire somebody by end of month, and it just so happens to be the last day of the month, the last day of October to be precise. It's Halloween. Michael has to fire somebody on Halloween, Joe.
Yeah, it's a little bit later, but Pam brings up, like, why did you wait till Halloween? And he just mumbles, it's scary stuff.
I thought it was funny, though, that Michael, I wish I could fire Sherry, and she's still on the line.
Yeah, Jan's assistant.
Yeah. Michael tries to recruit Pam in helping him decide who to fire, and she wants no part of this, Paul.
No, nothing. She wants nothing to do with it. And she makes a comment, I got calls to it, and he calls her out, and he's like, you could let him go to voicemail a lot. And I'm like, ooh. The tension between Michael and Pam is getting thicker.
Yeah, but then she strokes his vanity. She knows how to play Michael.
Yes, she does.
So, guys, who had your favorite costume, and why is it 3-hole punch Jim?
God, who? No, it wasn't 3-hole punch Jim. Mine was Kevin.
Mr. Incredible?
Mr. Incredible, yep.
What about you, Joe?
Oscar.
Oh, he was just dressed in drag, right? He wasn't a character per se, was he?
He wasn't a character. He was just in a dress, but I like it.
All right, moving on. Michael implores the accounting department to find $50,000 in the number in a bid to try to avoid having to fire somebody. Oh, Paul, when can Michael just do his job for once?
God. Oh, yeah. This is one of those things where you don't do it on Halloween. Yeah, Michael sucks as an office manager.
As a play on his costume title, Dwight gives Jim a love tap, so Jim and Pam decide to put Dwight's resume onto a bunch of job sites. Joe, another prank.
I love this prank. It pays off in spades, too, because you don't expect Dwight to not only, you'd figure he'd get upset, but he doesn't do that. He questions them on his resume and his martial arts skills, and then he wants to fax corrections of this resume to this company.
Michael invites Dwight into the office. As I said, this was my favorite moment, is this interaction, specifically the part where Dwight and the papier-mâché Michael are talking back and forth, I guess. But all of this is just in a bid to get him to tell Michael who should be fired. And Dwight, of course, lists literally everybody in the office, Paul.
Yeah, he does. And then that's when Michael turns around. He's like, there's one person he hasn't mentioned. Michael caught on right away that he was going to throw everyone else under the bus.
Yep, because it's Dwight. He should have known that even before asking, but this just shows you how desperate Michael is to pawn this off on someone else, which he can't. He has to be the one to decide. But he's so terrified of what that means, because it means losing a friend. When an employer calls about Dwight's resume, Jim takes the call as Michael Gary Scott. So, Paul, we learned that Michael Scott's middle name is Gary.
It sure is. Oh my God. Yeah, and he nails Michael's mannerisms and the way that he exaggerates things so well. If he doesn't exceed every expectation you have, you can personally and financially hold me accountable.
Okay. Dwight tries to fire Stanley, Joe.
Yep. And it's one of my favorite moments of the episode where Stanley just laughs him off, not even taking it seriously, not even entertaining Dwight on this premise.
And then Dwight hunkers back, or makes his way back to Michael's office, and we see that was at Michael's direction.
Yeah, Michael tried to fire Stanley via Dwight, and it just blows up in his face.
A proxy firing.
Damn it.
All right, I think that's a good spot to take our first break. So we will do that, and we will come right back, and we will talk more Halloween here on Bears Beats Bobbleheads Talking Office. If you're enjoying our Office podcast, be sure to check out Cast That Movie, the podcast where Paul and I, using our superhero aliases, revisit failed cinematic projects from the past. We discuss what went wrong, and then we try to fix the mess by going back in time and recasting the project with a cast we feel would have elevated the material. We also assign a new director/visionary. Because you can never have too much of a good thing, we also conjure up a dream project of something we would like to see made into a film, and we cast that as well. So find Cast That Movie on Spotify, SoundCloud, YouTube, or at our home at thejodown.blog. Welcome back to Bears Beats Bobbleheads Talking Office. We are talking Season 2, Episode 5, Halloween. All right, so we rejoin the action. Dwight receives a phone call from Cumberland Mills. You had referenced this, Joe. Based on the resume Jim and Pam had drafted. And as you had pointed out, he insists on amending it to include his martial arts training. Paul, what was your reaction to this proposed addendum to his resume?
Well, first off, I had to laugh. He's like, "How'd you get my resume? Is it my real resume? Or is it like what was it say about my martial arts prowess? Let me fax you over some." Oh my God. Like, this is a guy who was just, I can't even, it was just brilliant. It was a brilliant scene.
Dwight is a loyal person, and he will go to wherever they value loyalty the most, Joe.
Yeah. He's yelling at the guy at Cumberland Mills about they won't add his corrections to his resume.
It gets all hostile, and they're like yelling at each other. And then at the end, he's like, "So do I get the job or something to that effect? Like,
no, he asked if he'll get notified if when they make a decision.
I also like he's arguing why his martial arts skills should be on his resume for a sales job.
Why it's relevant.
Oh my God.
Pam urges Jim to pursue the Cumberland Mills job, Paul.
She does. And, I actually think this was from a place of her genuinely caring about him, actually, because she's like, it's a better title, it's a better position, this is a nowhere job. She was willing to put aside her want to have Jim in the office, I felt, to have him have a better position.
Yeah, she clearly holds him in high esteem. I mean, that goes without saying. So, yeah, I would agree. Yeah, we'll leave it there.
Okay.
Dwight.
I get the sense you don't agree.
No, I do agree. It's just we get a little more insight later. I just didn't want to jump too far ahead. Joe,
Gotcha.
Did you have something to add to that?
Jim did look a little insulted that she said that to him, too.
He's definitely taken aback. Yeah, I would agree. Dwight tries to leverage a non-existent competing job offer, but it blows up in his face, Joe.
Oh, my God. Like, Mike, he comes in... again, like I brought, he goes on a day Michael needs to let somebody go, and he comes in trying to leverage a job offer. In Michael's eyes, this is like a gift from heaven because he can just get rid of Dwight and not have to fire somebody.
Did you sense that Dwight was kind of hurt, though, that Michael was so willing to accept this?
Yeah, but there's times with Michael, like he'd rather have the easy way out, and this would have, in his mind, I don't think he was being mean about it per se. I think he's just in a bad situation right now, and he doesn't want to do this. He doesn't want to fire anybody, and as soon as Dwight dangles this in front of him and then takes it back, it just flusters him more to the point he just screams, "Why are you torturing me?"
Oh, do you think you can get it back? No, they never actually made me the offer.
Oh, God.
Michael pulls Jim into his office to role play firing Creed. So we find out Michael has settled on Creed. I thought this whole interaction was brilliant between Michael and Jim. Michael, obviously, as he does with everything, it's just end of the world. I'm going to kill myself, just craziness. Paul, what did you think about this scene?
Yeah, it gave more insight into like what the hell, like why Michael's Michael, and like the insecurities and fears that he has. Absolutely. And Jim thought he was going in to get fired because his talking head was making fun of Michael.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's right. I didn't mention that, but yeah, Michael walked in on a talking head where she was shit talking him a bit, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was.
So Jim, still pretending to be Michael, answers a call from Toby. Michael has had enough of this, and so he shoos Jim away. And then just one of my favorite moments in the episode, Michael sits back down at his desk and just hangs up the phone on Toby.
This was great. I'd never picked up on this joke before, because this is an episode where there's a lot of jokes coming at you pretty fast. And I totally forgot when he hung up that was Toby. How much he thinks Toby.
Oh, man, just... I am so excited for you, Paul, to see the interactions between Michael and Toby. But yeah, I agree. I kind of forgot, or maybe never even noticed myself, that was another slight at Toby, just not a face-to-face one. So I guess it's easier to miss. But they're just so delicious every time.
So when that happened, Joe, I thought of you. Because I was like, oh, this is kind of that thing that they were talking about, how Michael hates Toby. And this is just another one of those things that's ramping up to this.
Michael invites Creed into his office to fire him. Paul, you had mentioned this is your favorite scene in the episode. And it's a bit of a long scene. We finally get a proper introduction to Creed Bratton, the character played by Creed Bratton, the former rock star and background actor. Paul, I'm going to hand it off to you here. I want to know, just as the scene played out, what you loved so much about it.
So it was most of the interaction, like here Michael has supposedly landed on the person who's gonna fire, and he's like, I got my Creed's like, no. He's like, look, if I keep you here, you're gonna be the guy, you're gonna be thinking that, I was the guy that was gonna get. No, I'm gonna think you're gonna save my life, and basically just won't let Michael fire him. It's like, okay, thank you, glad we figured this out, and leaves. It's like, holy shit, dude, that's balls, man.
We're gonna fight this together like in the old days, and just I think my take on it is, Creed was basically selling to Michael right there.
Yes,
he sold himself, or at very least, he sold Devon as a better option to fire.
Oh.
But yeah, I think it was an amazing introduction to a character that there was never an intention to make Creed like an ensemble member. He was meant to be background, like a couple other, random faces we've seen in these first few episodes that we never see again. Creed was one of those people. And then he was initially supposed to be the one that was fired in this episode. And what happened was, if I remember right, Devon, the character Devon, can't remember what the actor's name is, ended up having a conflict because he was, I guess, going to stick around. I don't know if he's ever going to be ensemble or just background or what, but he ended up having a conflict with a play he was going to do or something like that. So they switched it up, gave both of them speaking parts for the first time, and I guess, like you, everybody was so impressed by Creed's screen presence in that one scene that they built him into the cake. They made him a part of the show going forward.
That's awesome.
And can I just add how great it is? Like, everybody in the office can hear Creed yelling at Michael through the door.
Yes.
Like, you're not doing this. And again, like you brought up, Creed brings up the good old days, and Michael just looks confused. He's like, what good old days?
But as we mentioned, Creed convinces Michael to fire Devon. So Michael pulls Devon into the office, and that was a cringy scene, if ever there was one. Would you agree, Paul?
Oh, that was a rough scene. Yeah. That was, and Michael, he finally gets the balls that he has to fire someone, and he's asking him to still be friends and all this stuff. Oh, it was rough. Yeah, I was cringing to that whole part.
On his way out the door, Michael tries to give Devon a gift certificate to Chili's. In addition to a severance, here's this gift certificate to Chili's.
Well, maybe he'll feel God there like Pam did.
This is a 2-drink max, though. Remember this, Devon. 2-drink max.
Which is a lie.
And I also like Devon on his way out invites everybody but Michael and Creed to Poor Richards.
No, actually, he invites everybody except Michael and Creed, and that's obvious reasons there. But he also does not invite Dwight or Angela.
Real? I guess I didn't pick up on that.
Yeah, curious, right? Like, why were those two also singled out? Is, I guess, something we can talk about here quickly. You guys have any theories? I mean, Dwight, I guess, makes a little more sense because he's so tied to Michael. But Angela is kind of out of left field. Why was she singled out?
Because she's the office bitch.
Moving on. Pam tells Jim that she's sorry for pushing him to pursue the Cumberland Mills job because if he ever left, she'd blow her brains out, Joe.
Yeah. And then this kind of, we get this nice scene with them, and we get a talking head from Jim. I like it. This kid is more of a dynamic, pushing it more towards more positive than what it's been kind of, especially last episode with Katie and Roy being there. It kind of got kind of cringy and toxic. I like this. Mm-hmm. I like this a lot.
Yeah, Paul, what about your take on it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it goes to show that they both genuinely care about each other, not just from an office standpoint, but just kind of how they're doing and where they are in life. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, just kind of keeping track of this because, again, it is the first time you've watched it, and the Jim and the Pam, will they, won't they? That was a major storyline for the show early on, and what a lot of people valued as what kept them watching, as it is with a lot of shows that have that kind of a plot point. What is it surprising you at all? Or is it going as you expected? Is, any curveballs to it? Is it fresh in your eyes, or is it kind of warmed over leftovers? Like what is your take on their relationship? For
I expected it to be a lot more rocky than what it has been, given the fact that I think this is part of the dynamic, is this tension between them. It's maybe it's because I'm watching the show how many years later. It feels though very cliche so far. So that's kind of my idea.
Okay. So a little underwhelming then?
It's not that it's underwhelming. It's just, what's the word I'm looking for? It is like okay, I've seen this type of thing in a lot of sitcoms. Like, I expect something like this in sitcoms. So I think the only thing that I think that this hasn't, that's a little bit different, is that they are very amicably with each other, and I would have expected a little bit more, even though it was toxic last episode. It's not quite, I'm dating myself here, but it's not quite Cheers level with a lot of the characters. But again, this type of relationship, it's in every single sitcom, so I expect something of it.
Sure. Okay, so our closing scene has Michael at home greeting some trick-or-treaters at his door. This is after everybody went to the bar, abandoned the Halloween party, went to the bar to, I guess, console Devon after he got canned. And Michael, of course, as we mentioned, wasn't invited, so he goes to be by himself for Halloween. But the way he greets the trick-or-treaters, I thought, was another great way to end the episode. To where, as frustrated as you were with him the entire time, you see that deep down, he is a good person, I guess.
Yeah, and it just kind of shows how good, like, Paul's brought it up before, like, it shows how good of an actor Carell is. Like, that childlike wonder when Michael's handing out the candy, and, like, he just feels like that's his happiest, is, like, at moments like that. It kind of really shows that Michael, yeah, he's incompetent and all that, but he's not a dick,
He's an imbecile. Yeah.
He's an imbecile, yeah.
Yeah, I think that was a vital scene in making him more likable, because especially after, the fiascos in my mind of the first season, there's to really humanize him more, and to see that he went home. And, it wasn't just about saving himself, like kind of how we felt previously. Like, no, there is this, he genuinely cares. And yeah, the interaction with the kids was a wonderful touch.
All right, I think that'll do it then for Season 2, Episode 5, Halloween. I think we've covered everything we need to cover, so we're going to take our last break, and then we are going to come back, and we are going to give our final takes on the episode and name our winners. We'll be back in a minute.
Hi, this is Paul Muad'Dib, one half of Podcast Above a Convenience Store, Talkin Twin Peaks, which I work on with Joseph Fremming, who's also on the podcast that you're listening to right now. We go through all of Twin Peaks, Season 1, Season 2, the movie, the books. Right now we're digging into Season 3, which will end the podcast with the final dossier, which was the last book that was put out by Mark Frost, putting a cap on everything that's happened in the Twin Peaks universe. So please, check us out. You can find us on the joedown.blog with everything else on here. You can find us on YouTube, SoundCloud, iTunes, Spotify. There's no reason why you don't want to listen.
Welcome back to Bears Beats Bobbleheads Talking Office. We are wrapping up Season 2, Episode 5, Halloween. And it's time to kind of give our takes on the episode, as well as who we thought won the episode. And Joel, let's start with you.
Yeah, like I said earlier, the Halloween episodes I like a lot. They're just a lot of fun. For me, hands down, this is Creed wins for me. He yelled at Michael until Michael wouldn't fire him. Like, he just talked Michael out of that decision and just gets up and leaves. Yeah, he won the episode for me.
Okay. For me, I have to give it to Dwight again. I'm sorry. I love what has been going on with the Dwight character the last couple weeks, and I feel like it continues here. And the Sith Lord scene, I know I keep going back to it, but it is what I remember when I think about this episode. And my Carell is great in it, but Rainn Wilson just makes that amazing to me, and how he just is so bought in on his interaction with a doll or a paper mache doll or whatever you would call it. So I'm going to give it to Rainn Wilson and Dwight. As far as the episode in and of itself, yeah, it is one of the best of season 2, in my opinion. It's just through and through. So much happens in it. There are a lot of big laughs in it, a lot of character development. And yeah, Creed is also one of my favorite characters. And so he comes out guns blazing. Paul, what about you?
Wow, I'm gonna light a cigarette for this one, guys, because I'm gonna be the dissenting voice here. I was not a big. I mean, there was some funny stuff in this one, but this so far the second season, this was one of the ones I didn't really enjoy as much. Outside of the bits that were funny were really funny, but I felt like the episode itself was kind of an to me, actually, which probably is because when it was a Halloween episode, Halloween is my Christmas, and I was expecting kind of a really awesome Halloween episode, so maybe that's my expectations that did that. But I'm going to go with Joe and say Creed. I mean, he was that whole scene right there was just phenomenal.
Okay, interesting. I'm not gonna lie. I thought you were going to enjoy the episode more than you did.
I keep a track kind of I've been taking a personal note, and I wasn't sure when I was going to bring this up, but so far, like the Paul Feig episodes, he's only directed 2 so far, but those are lackluster to me. I tend to like what Ken Kwapis does as director with those kind of episodes.
Well,
so I don't know.
What about writers? Has there been any writers that you feel like you've gravitated more towards their work?
Yeah, that I haven't. I've been more taking care of the directors. I should go back and maybe report to you guys in a couple of episodes who my favorite episodes that are written by.
Gotcha. Okay, well, fair enough. Your opinion is what we want, and let us go then. I'm going to just assume that the Alliance is still your favorite. This one didn't overtake that. Jim being your favorite character to date, is that changed?
This is, that's getting difficult because you asked me earlier, and you kind of, if I feel like the Jim and Pam thing's getting a little stale and predictable and things like that. Just, I think you guys have really been pointing out that this season is really heavily focused on a rebrand of Michael and Dwight to make them more likable. So I feel like it's kind of hard to do that because I feel like they're kind of pulling Jim back a little bit. Maybe that's just me, but I feel like they're not letting him stand out as front anymore because they want Carell to be more of the front runner.
Okay. So I
guess he is in a way, but he's still the most likable character to me. Is he my favorite character? I don't know. People are coming through. Like Dwight's kind of coming on his own, as you said. Michael's coming on his own. He's been really humanized the last couple episodes, which I really am kind of surprised that I can even say that, considering how the first season went.
Okay, but we need a name. So who is your favorite character?
I'm going to stick with Jim. I'm going to stick with Jim. Yep.
Yeah, the criteria you use is your own. Like, that's up to you. So, I mean, if likability...
Yes, it's still Jim. Yes, it's still Jim.
Okay, just wanted to get it on the record because that's one of our bits here. All right, I think that'll do it then for Season 2, Episode 5, Halloween. But we will, of course, be back next Wednesday, to cover Season 2, Episode 6, The Fight. Until then, that is Joe, that is Paul, I am Scott, and we will talk to you next week on Bears Beats Bobbleheads Talking Office. For more podcasts like this one and general pop culture tomfoolery, be sure to visit thejoedown.blog. That's thejoedown.blog.